Do you know they turned Thomas Edison's laboratory into a cow barn?
That's just crazy.
Let's tell them about it.
Welcome to another episode of Our Haunted Travels with your hosts, Sean and Marianne Dawn.
Well, hello, Parapeeps, and welcome to another episode of Our Haunted Travels. I'm your host, Sean Donnelly.
And I'm your co-host, Marianne Donnelly.
Hey, today we are talking about our visit to Menlo Park Laboratory, which is not in Menlo Park, New Jersey anymore.
No.
It's been moved.
It has.
Reconstructed.
Yeah. But at the real Menlo Park, which has been renamed, they actually do have a model of the Menlo Park lab.
Yeah, we haven't been there. We'll have to go there sometime
Yes.
and see the model and the tower and everything they put up in actual Menlo Park, New Jersey. But we did go to Greenfield Village up at the Henry Ford Museum and actually saw the reconstruction of the Menlo Park lab.
Yes,
which
we
is
did.
Very, very cool.
Mm-hmm. Lots of cool, exciting things inside there. Lots of the instruments and items that he had. And
yes. So we're going to talk about that today in this video. But if you like haunted history, places we've been to, our haunted travels, things like that, places that have paranormal claims, you're at the right spot. Right now, hit that subscribe button and the bell to be notified next time we upload a video and go live. We would appreciate it and love to have you. However, today on this video, we are talking about Menlo Park Laboratory of Thomas Edison. And if I say Jefferson again, just smack me. You have my permission. Anyways, this is actually Panic D number 1943. And it is now located at 20900 Oakwood Boulevard. It actually has an address in Dearborn, Michigan, which is actually
Greenfield Village.
Yes, and it is open to the public. And if you want more information about the park, we are linking everything on this page here in Panic D. So we already started to do that. We have some more we need to add. Of course, Marianne's found a bunch more links and resources and things like that. And we will be getting it on there and added soon. All right, so before we go any further, let's go over some of the history of Menlo Park Laboratory. So watch this quick little video. Well, it might not be so quick, but it's actually interesting. So watch this video and we'll be right back.
Menlo Park was one of the 6 neighborhoods that formed Raritan Township. It was very sparsely populated and was a rural area, and the site of a failed residential development in the early 1870s. Edison purchased 2 parcels of land measuring approximately 34 acres from the family of William Carman, who was one of his employees at Newark in late 1875. The office of the real estate development company, Menlo Parkland Company, at the corner of Lincoln Highway and Christie Street, became Edison's home. Edison's father built the main laboratory building on the block south of Christie Street between Middlesex and Woodbridge, now Tower, avenues. Edison also built other ancillary buildings, including the glass house, a carpenter's shop, a carbon shed, and a blacksmith shop. By the spring of 1876, Edison moved his operations to Menlo Park. Edison's Menlo Park Laboratory was one of the world's first such research and development facilities. While Edison was working on perfecting the telephone, he started experimenting with the idea of being able to record the sound of the human voice. In November 1877, one of Edison's first major inventions at Menlo Park was the phonograph, which was a basic machine that allowed a person to speak into a diaphragm that would attach to a pin and made indentations on paper wrapped around wood. The first words that Edison successfully recorded on the phonograph were "Mary Had a Little Lamb."
The first words I spoke in the original phonograph. A little piece of practical poetry. Mary had a little lamb, its fleece was white as snow, and everywhere that Mary went, the lamb was sure to go.
By 1878, this invention was known all around the world, and Edison soon earned himself the title, the Wizard of Menlo Park. Menlo Park was suddenly known worldwide and started attracting visitors to see demonstrations of the phonograph. For his expanding inventions factory, Edison commissioned the engineering firm of Babcock and Wilcox from New York City to build a machine shop behind the laboratory building in 1878. In that same year, Edison also constructed an office and a library for himself at the corner of Christie Street and Woodbridge Tower Avenue. In this same year, Edison coined the name Invention Factory for the Menlo Park site. Edison did not linger over the success of his phonograph. He quickly moved on to other inventions. His next big breakthrough came when he invented a bamboo filament to create a successful incandescent light bulb. Other people had been working on the making of light bulbs in the past, but none of the other earlier bulbs was ever able to work for more than just a few minutes at a time. But finally, on October 21st of 1879, Edison's light bulb burned for a continuous 13.5 hours. The following bulbs lasted for 40 hours, and Edison and his team worked hard to light the laboratory and his home with several of these new light bulbs for Christmas. On New Year's Eve of the same year, Christie Street became the world's first street to be lit by incandescent light bulbs, with the help of a power system designed, of course, by Edison. By the summer of 1880, Edison had perfected the incandescent bulb enough to be able to produce and sell it in large quantities. He had remodeled the wooden building on the east side of the Pennsylvania Railroad tracks and Lincoln Highway to serve as a lamp factory. Edison also laid down experimental underground systems that put in several lamp posts in Menlo Park and successfully tested the first underground electrical system in November of 1880. The first two homes to be lit by Edison's incandescent light bulbs were the home of Francis Upton, a mathematician who worked for Edison, located on Frederick Street and the corner of Woodbridge Avenue, and Sarah Jordan's boarding house. Sarah Jordan was the widow of one of Edison's associates from Newark, who Edison had brought to Menlo Park to set up the boarding house for his single employees. This was also a place where the entire team would gather for social events during their free time. Edison established the Edison Electric Light Company and began working on using electricity for other purposes. He built an experimental train running on electricity right there at Menlo Park that started on the west side of the machine shop at the corner of Christie Street and Middlesex Avenue and ran about 3 blocks north to a copper mine called Mine Gully. When Edison had discovered copper ore deposits in the area, he sank a shaft for his very own copper mine. But very soon the mining effort seemed uneconomical and inefficient, and the mine was quickly abandoned. The electric-powered railway, however, became a success in 1881. In the meantime, Edison continued to improve his earlier inventions and took them to the next level. In the summer of 1882, he began setting up large generator plant at Pearl Street in downtown New York City. He fitted all of the office buildings and homes on Pearl Street with about 400 of his incandescent light bulbs. On September 4th of 1882, hundreds of people gathered on Pearl Street to witness a never-before-seen spectacle. At about 3 p.m., the generator was turned on and the street was lit with electricity. This was a huge success for Edison in proving his theory of a central generator station supplying power in bulk. After this, Edison became, of course, rich and famous. People thronged to Menlo Park to see his inventions firsthand, and the first floor of the laboratory constantly entertained businessmen and investors who came to invest in Edison's projects. Thomas Edison created some of the world's most important and some of his greatest inventions at Menlo Park. While headquartered there, he applied for about 400 patents on inventions both big and small. But then, by the early 1880s, Edison felt the need to be closer to where the business was, in New York City. And his operations were quickly outgrowing the existing facilities at Menlo Park. And then in 1887, his laboratory moved out of Menlo Park and into the new, much larger laboratory in West Orange, New Jersey. And this is where Edison spent the remaining 44 years of his life, continuing to improve on his earlier inventions and, of course, creating new inventions, such as the motion picture camera. After Edison left Menlo Park, the property was completely abandoned, and most of the buildings became occupied by squatters. The laboratory building was used as a theater, a dance hall, and even a barn. Edison's office and library building, as well as his home, were used as private residences. And the carbon shed, well, that was used as a chicken shed. The buildings and site were in poor condition, and in 1904, the General Electric Outing Club organized a dinner in honor of Edison at the site. This was the first time that Edison had returned to the property since he had moved to West Orange. He emotionally toured the property, visiting every building. The last remaining official record of the building is a series of photographs taken by J. Lloyd Grimstead and Charles B. Carman in 1911. The buildings continued to deteriorate until they began to completely fall apart, one by one. And Edison's home was destroyed in a fire in 1914. Then his office and library building met with the same fate in 1919. The laboratory, machine shop, and other buildings were slowly scavenged for building materials. Edison returned to Menlo Park on May 16th of 1925 to unveil a memorial tablet donated by the state of New Jersey to honor him and his work at Menlo Park. The memorial tablet still stands at the edge of the site of Edison's home, adjoining Lincoln Highway. Edison was Henry Ford's lifelong hero, and as adults, they were very close friends. And when Mr. Ford formed the idea for Greenfield Village, he knew that he wanted to pay tribute to this greatest of all inventors. What better way to do that than to restore his factory, where so many of his greatest inventions took place? So, in March of 1928, Ford began the restoration process. He wanted to reconstruct Menlo Park and the Menlo Park complex, where Edison and his skilled helpers had worked at inventing the future from the years 1876 to 1886. And he wanted to do it in every minute detail. It was unfortunate that the original site was nearly completely dismantled by neighboring farmers, not too many years after Edison's move to West Orange in 1887. In fact, it was only a year after Edison had removed himself that cows began to wander amongst the buildings of the complex, and a chicken farmer allowed his flock to make the lab their home. Soon after, many local residents had begun using the dilapidated building's boards to repair their own deteriorating boards in barns and hen houses. A severe storm blew what was left of the building over in 1913. Luckily, though, with Mr. Edison's help, many of the original boards were found, including some that were in storage, while others were regained through the purchase of the sheds and other farm buildings mentioned before. Edison himself supervised the reconstruction. Ford was also able to locate or find exact replicas through the aid of photographs and, of course, memories of those who had worked there, furniture, tools, and other artifacts that once played a very important role inside the lab. Excavators dug through the original ground and not only found thousands of pieces of Edison's trash and other original relics from the lab that had been simply thrown out. These were gathered and shipped to Dearborn, but they could also see how the original buildings were positioned. Once they were brought and reconstructed inside the new Greenfield village, Ford had the building complex aligned in the same direction and orientation that they were in New Jersey, and even brought carloads of the New Jersey clay from the original grounds.
Yeah, so a sad story that actually
Turns around.
Yeah, but yeah, the lab was used as a barn.
That's just appalling.
Is that, I'd be curious to see like how many people actually went there and saw his inventions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they say that there were a lot of people that used to come there. So everybody wanted wanted to have him show them how that phonograph worked. And
could you imagine? We put out a video recently. It was a collaboration with Doodles by Doug. Mm-hmm. And I'll put a link to it right here. Bing! That actually was a demonstration of one of the original phonographs. Mm-hmm. And they said in that there was 9 of them made and 4 of them exist at that Menlo Park right now.
Well, there were nine still in existence, right?
Well, those are the original ones.
Right.
These are the original, like...
And 4 of them are right there in Menlo Park
He approved
lab.
on them. He did that a lot. Like, he would come up with the design and,
Mm-hmm.
The idea, come up with the design, manufacture, and then test it out, and then come up with another design, and,
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why he had so many patents, because it was like improvements on the original, or made a change to it that,
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Quite interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's talk about the paranormal a little bit.
Okay.
Because this is not the original location of where Menlo Park was, but now it's been moved.
Mm-hmm.
But there are other buildings there that we found out got some interesting claims as well. Menlo Park Lab is one of them. We found a claim from a former employees actually, that experienced something there in the lab when nobody else was around.
Yeah, after hours.
Oh, it wasn't after hours. It was during it was at 4:00. I remember that.
Shift changed.
Shift change. No. Okay, so the way the story is, which I'll put a link to the Ghost Stories and Folklore right here. Ding! But the way the story goes is it was a rainy day. Now, we've been there, and it was beautiful when we were there.
Yeah.
But it did get kind of dark and rainy, didn't it? I don't remember. I remember us coming up. I know we had some issues with recording stuff.
Yeah.
It was hot.
Yeah.
Of course, it's always hot.
I
when
don't
we go to these
remember
places.
rain at all.
Anyways, the story is it was a rainy day, and there was no visitors. Because really, if it's raining,
Who's going to want to go
who's
walking
going to be walking
all
around
over?
this village? They're going to be inside the other.
Gotcha. They'll go
museum.
into the main Henry Ford Museum on a rainy day.
So they
I
were
get it.
sitting in the lab, and nobody came in for them to do their spiel and whatever. And they heard the doors shut, footsteps walking towards them, turn, and go up the second floor of the lab. So was it Thomas Edison still at work?
Could have been.
He was there. Even in the history video, it talks about this, and I'm going to point it out again.
Yeah.
He was there several times. He oversaw the reconstruction of the lab.
Yeah, I loved the fact that when we were there, the historians were talking about the building and everything, and they said in the upstairs, all those chemical bottles, he was there, and he said, yeah, that's not where that one goes. This one goes over here, and he moved them, and he said that's not where that one was supposed to go.
Yeah,
so
he
that's
lined them
really
up
cool.
so he remembered. And I would bet that, because he had several labs, even from a little boy. He probably had stuff organized the same way in each lab. So, when he's in the middle of something, he could go and it's over there, go grab it, that kind of thing. Or he went and got it himself and then put it back so that he knew where it was because, oh, man, the chemicals.
Yeah, there's a ton of them up there.
So I know he had the lab as a boy. He had a lab in his parents' house. He had the Menlo Park lab. He had the lab when he
Orange.
moved.
He had a
lab,
boxcar.
The boxcar one that
Boxcar of a train.
Yeah, burnt down.
Everybody has. Doesn't everybody have a lab on a middle of a train?
Yeah, but he had the lab too down in Florida.
Yes.
When they went in the summer.
Yeah, the estates. The summer estate. The winter estates is what they called it. The winter estates.
Yeah, we haven't done a video on that one yet.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that's in the database. We'll have to look. But that's an interesting place too, down in Fort Myers. But so that was the paranormal claim we found. And in order for a location to wind up in the panicd.com database, we have to find somebody else who says they experienced something paranormal. We don't put it in if we just experience something. So we
want at least some other corroboration besides ourselves.
Right, because that's just gives a little bit more credibility to it. But we've been to a lot of locations where we're just looking for something so we can add it.
Because they're really cool locations.
Yeah. All right, so our experience, I touched on it a little bit. It was hot. That was the first time I was there. Were you there when you were younger?
I was there when I was a small child, but I didn't remember
really
much
couldn't
about
appreciate it that much when you were younger?
I appreciated a lot of things when I was little. I really did, but I don't remember them as in depth. Like, I remember being there. I remember, like, one thing or two things about the locations, but I don't remember the details that, you get when you're older.
We should just do a video at some point, a blog or something, just about the whole village, because there are, and I don't know if I've already said this before, there are like really cool buildings there. Henry Ford had a ton of money and he collected full-size buildings.
Yeah, some people collect little houses like me. Yeah. He collected entire life-size houses.
Right, so...
You know what I'm surprised that he didn't have, and I don't know if it's just because they didn't get kept, but one of Thomas Edison's inventions was the cement house. And they actually built at least a dozen of them.
You mean the poured cement houses?
Yes. And I'm surprised that Ford didn't have one of those.
Well, he may not have had that at Menlo Park. That could have been when he was in New Jersey.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is he collected all those different houses and stuff. I'm surprised that he didn't somehow through time collect one of those.
This video is going to be extremely long, but anyways, join us on Saturday. We'll talk some more about Edison on our live stream, because another thing I want to throw out too, his inspiration for these inventions a lot of times were when people came to him and said, hey, we have this problem, can you help us? I'll talk about that on the live stream, so tune in Saturday live at 5 right here. Okay, so I guess we didn't answer our experience, but my experience, I thought it was really cool. You just step back in time, and it's boom. I mean, people were dressed in period clothing. They demonstrated that phonograph. I mean, just at that place. And then we attended we didn't record it, but we attended a demonstration of a gentleman that was dressed up like Edison. Remember, he came out and he was talking about it. I don't think, no, we didn't record that.
I think I might have recorded audio recording, but I don't think you did video. But I have a couple of photographs of it.
Yeah, we were having some technical difficulties with batteries.
Yes, batteries were an issue there.
Yeah, so, but what about your experience?
For me, I didn't experience anything paranormal, but being a science person, I was just in awe. I was like, oh, look at all this stuff, and he may have touched that particular bottle to move it from this side to the other. He definitely touched these telegraph.
I didn't have paranormal experience either, and we didn't know that there was a claim there until
later.
So,
happens to us a lot.
Yeah, Yeah, but we do have a recording of you walking around. I don't know how I'm going to do that because you have like short recordings of every one of the buildings, and there are several buildings there that you go from building to building to building to building. So I might just do all of them together as one dump and investigation review. So haven't decided how we're going to do that yet. So our next question is, why do you think this place could be haunted? It's moved.
It's moved, but there's the whole idea that Edison loved being there. Like, he wouldn't even go home most nights. His wife, she slept with a gun because he just wouldn't come home most nights. And if he did, he came home really late. So, he was there for long hours a day. He loved being in there. He loved the whole idea of finding out new things. And, he loved being there.
I think he would be more attached to Menlo Park than the other laboratories because this was like the beginning. This is where he got his fame.
Well, yeah, where he got his fame. It wasn't really his beginning, but his fame beginning.
But I meant the beginning of having his own research laboratory was Menlo Park. Like a full-blown, he had the property, you know what I mean? He had 38 acres. Oh, I need a machine shop. I need this shop. I need that. And he had the room to do that. Mm-hmm. Which, that would be, this is where it began. You know what I mean? So, and even said in the history video that when he went back and visited, he was kind of sad walking around from building to building to see what had happened to it. And, but he pulled out and said, I got to keep going. He was more focused on future, not history.
Yes.
It would have been nice if he would have kept it, locked it off, and I'm going to preserve this.
Yeah, that wasn't
historically,
his thing.
but that wasn't.
He was like, I got to
him.
move on.
He was like, moving on. So, but so I think, and especially too, they brought the dirt.
The dirt, yes, I was going to say that too, and they brought the dirt.
The actual dirt from Menlo Park is around that little block where they have that set up. So,
yeah. Lots of attachment possibility.
Lots of attachment. So I guess if he did come back, this would definitely be one of the places he would visit. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
Especially since his house burnt down.
True.
But of course he didn't hang out there much. So.
Yeah.
I think he would spend time at the lab.
Yeah. Well, do you have anything else you want to add, or are we going to leave it for the live stream?
I think we'll leave them for the live stream.
You have a lot of stuff on Thomas Edison, so
I do.
Join us in the next video.
Interesting tidbits. You don't want to miss them.
That's right. All right. Hey, until next time.
Thanks for watching.
And happy hunting. Let us know if you like this video by hitting that thumbs up. Also, if you'd like to see more videos from us in the future, support our channel by hitting that subscribe button and dinging that bell, so you get notified the next time there's a video from Panic D Videos.
Thanks for watching.
Happy hunting.